name is Brigadier Hillary Kosgey. I'm the Acting Director General at the Kenya Space Agency. And if we're able to invest relevant necessary resources in the space economy, we can actually generate more revenues from the space economy that can contribute to our national economy. So listening to gospel music, taking away all these stresses. Yeah. Kenya Space Agency is a state corporation established under the Ministry of Defense with a mandate, a very broad mandate, to promote, to coordinate and to regulate space-related activities in our country. The agency was established out of a need that was seen way back in 2015 with the establishment of the then Kenya Space Policy 2015 that saw the need to establish a coordinating entity that would nurture the growth of the sector in Kenya. And so with this mandate of promotion, coordination and regulation, from that we defined 4 key activities for the agency. The first one being enhancing utilization of space services and technologies across the public sector players. So we're looking at ministries, departments and agencies. How do we enhance utilization of space services? Principally to support planning and to do even predictive analytics. And then secondly, as an agency, we also see our responsibility as being the development of Kenya's national space capability. This is because we do not envision a situation where we'll be forever dependent on services and technologies that are coming from outside that are outsourced, but also increasingly, how do we also develop our capacity to be able to develop some of those technologies ourselves? And then thirdly, how do we get there to be able to develop those technologies? As government, we do not see ourselves as the do-it-all. Government is just supposed to provide an enabling environment, the necessary facilitation. And so we are focusing on the growth of the domestic private sector. How do we support startups in this space so that they are able to come up to become viable entities that will now be the foundation of our space economy. And then fourthly, which is tied to all this, is awareness creation. Space is still a new thing in our country. There are not so many people who appreciate or even know the value that you can derive from space technologies and services. So there is need for awareness across the public, across even government itself, so that government is able to appreciate the need to invest in the necessary resources to be able to develop capabilities around space services and technologies. Principally, again, to support delivery of services to the public. Yes, so that is the reason why the agency is established. In terms of what we do, our activities are around all those 4 areas that I've mentioned. The first one, in terms of enhancing utilization, we are working with the MDAs, that is the public sector entities, to demonstrate the kind of technologies that they can readily deploy, what kind of tools are available, what kind of data sets they are able to leverage to develop simple decision support tools. And here, decision support tools that they can use for their planning. Like, for example, with partners in the agriculture space, looking at people like Agriculture and Food Authority, Ministry of Agriculture itself, we work with them to be able to develop simple models around crop mapping, showing land that is under various different types of crops, doing things like crop yield estimation based on the basis of that mapping of crops. In season, you can make a prediction of how much yield you're going to expect from the in-season crops. And then thirdly, also doing crop condition monitoring. How do you utilize satellite imagery to monitor the condition of crops and therefore give predictions around whether you're going to have a bumper harvest or you're going to have loss of harvest, either because there's low soil moisture or there is case of infestation by some pests or diseases and that kind of thing. Those are simple models that we work with them to demonstrate. Those in the agriculture space, we also do the same. How do you utilize satellite imagery to map out forests or other natural resources? They could even be water resources. How do you map out and monitor these natural resources so that you're able to direct interventions, timely interventions, in case there are issues of maybe encroachment on forests or there is illegal logging? Because one way of doing it, if you're talking of forests that are under tens of thousands of hectares, is to send aircraft or drones or send people on ground. But at what cost? You have a satellite that is constantly taking imagery of this, and you're able to monitor over a period of time and note any changes to that natural resource, whether it's a forest or whatever. So those are just some of the examples that I can give right now, and it extends across all the sectors, even those that are in the disaster management, those that are just in the environmental monitoring, those that are in security and defense. There are various applications that you can apply using Earth observation or satellite technology. AI is a new technology that is very versatile, used for handling immense volumes of data, which ordinarily would not be able to analyze using our own minds. So as far as utilization of AI is concerned, there are steps that we've taken. We have currently there is a pilot project that we are working with Murang'a County on use of AI in agriculture, and specifically in smallholder crop or mixed farming kind of situations. Because if you want to do accurate crop mapping, for example, you need to train the AI model and develop algorithms that will be able to discriminate between land on a smallholder farm that is under maize and different from land that is under potatoes or beans or something like that. So we have realized that AI is very valuable in being able to give these predictions and accurate determination or distinction between these different types of crops on smallholder crop mapping. And so this is an active project that is currently going on with Murang'a County. We've done quite a bit of, we use satellite imagery, and then we do ground truthing using drones. And in the analytics, we employ AI to be able to now train the model to discriminate between different types of crops that you're able to see on ground vis-a-vis what the satellite imagery is you are going to get from the satellite imagery. So we've just started that. There is also work that we are doing with other partners on a program called AI Rideshare. AI Rideshare. We have a partner who has offered us an AI satellite, and this AI satellite is for Earth observation. And ordinarily what would happen with satellites is that the imagery or the data would just be streamed down from the satellite, and then the processing will be done on ground. But in this particular instance, our students from the universities and even our staff are able to write AI algorithms, and this partner is able to send this AI algorithm up to the satellite. And the processing will be done locally on the satellite to be able to do land use, land cover. Use of land, whether it is for, whether it is for agriculture or for other activities. It could be, rangeland or something else. So the idea here is to try and infuse modern technology like AI to our students, to our staff, to be able to develop algorithms that can give better characterization of land use, land cover that is happening. So those are just some of the efforts that we are making right now to try and utilize current technologies. There's also a third example that I can cite where as the agency, we gave out research grant to our students in the universities. There are actually 3 universities which were involved, and there was also a number of startups, private entities, and we gave them projects. We gave them problems around developing an application, a web-based application for land use, land cover using AI and machine learning. The idea was just to try again and infuse this technology. So these are just some of the small efforts that we are trying to infuse to allow, to get our engineers to start thinking of how to utilize modern technologies to do better characterization of the imageries that we get from satellite. So in terms of information sharing, of course, because we are in a situation where the data protection laws are in place, we have to be alive and cognizant to the requirements of those who are generating data, those who are likely to utilize the data that is provided by others. Okay, and so the kind of data that we currently try to leverage is what I would consider to be digital public goods. So if it is data that I'm getting from a satellite, and the intention here is to process that data so that there is meaning that supports agriculture or supports natural resources management or environmental monitoring. To that extent, we want to focus on that and make it readily available. We try to be sensitive about data that could encroach on privacies of individuals, and so where we feel that there's a gray area around it, we try to be careful about that so that we just navigate around the digital public goods for now. We have not had situations where we have been suspected of going against the data protection laws, and even when we are having discussions around the national spatial data infrastructure, I know those are sentiments that are raised by various quarters. That are you sure that people's privacy, and especially data that has privacy information, are secured? So we as much as that is in our consideration before we make information centrally available and shareable to others. It is information that does not violate the data protection laws. Yeah, and we just try to focus on the digital public goods for now. Yeah. Well, it could, yes, I would say that, yeah. Maybe because it's an area that as an agency we've tried to focus on. because we are in a situation where maybe let me just explain that before. Because we are in a situation where the country does not quite appreciate the value of space. We are in a situation where the decision makers do not see the need of investing, significant resources in developing capabilities around space. And I will quickly just cite an example. Like, for example, when we were announcing that we are going to be launching a satellite, Kenyans were up in arms and say, "You're launching a satellite. Never mind the cost; it was just about 50 million shillings, but you are launching a satellite amid spending money on, something that to them did not seem sensible." At a time when the country was experiencing serious drought, there's food shortage and that kind of thing, they were not able to see, and which is very understandable, that there is a connection between this satellite and actually making better decisions around agriculture, making better predictions, and maybe better planning that would actually assure food security. So we've made it a business of the agency to try and create that connection as a way of also aligning ourselves with the bottom-up transformation agenda, that the solutions, what is at the very heart of every Kenyan is about food security. How do we create the connection that space can actually support and actually result in better food security, for example? So when I'm giving examples around agriculture, it is informed by this need to create the connection. But yes, I also have a passion in agriculture. Space is a complex subject. It's a complex subject. I would admit that in the past we have not broken it down to simple language that people are easily able to relate to. Sometimes when we talk about space, we use jargon like, Earth observation, and we assume that everybody knows what we took difficult terminology like remote sensing. And so people are not easily able to relate, and we've made it now. We realize that there's a serious disconnect, and the reason why the agency has decided, and especially since I came in, to focus on awareness creation as a key line of effort is principally to address that disconnect. We are going down to agriculture. We are going down to the counties and working with counties in developing county special plans, showing counties how we can utilize geographical information systems to develop decision support tools that can help the governor make decisions around even just equitable allocation of resources based on data, not based on, wishes of an MCA. He has a layer of where, for example, the population in the county. He has a layer of the distribution of utilities. It could be roads, it could be water, it could be electricity. And he can actually put these several layers and show areas that have, for example, high density of population, but very few public amenities like, dispensaries or something like that. So he's able to make decisions based on, simple tools like those. Yeah, so that even when he's faced in a situation where, an MCA comes and makes a lot of noise about his area wanting a dispensary, he can just show him that, in your area you have only 2,000 people, you already have 5 dispensaries. This place has 20,000 people, it has only 1 dispensary. I'm going to put a dispensary here. So those are just simple, it gives you a visualization of how you have deployed resources on the real ground. So it is we are trying to show counties how they can utilize those tools to develop those kind of decision support, and we feel that is where we should have focused. I think our problem began way back when we had the Malindi Space Center. It was considered, it was considered like a classified project. There are not so many people who wanted to know what space was all about. So these people are doing secret stuff, and I think we carried on with that thing of, it's a classified project and that kind of thing. So we are breaking away from that, and I think that history is what sort of made space something more mysterious, something that is more for defense as opposed to the rest of the civilian use. And now we are saying, yes, we are in the Ministry of Defense, but what we are doing is 100% civilian, peaceful users of space. I may be having a title that bears somebody with uniform, but when I'm here at the Kenya Space Agency, I'm doing purely 100% civilian duty. And our focus is, how do you utilize space for socio-economic development? That is the bottom line. Data-driven decision making. Space adds another very important layer. And the good thing with the data, the component of space is that it gives it a spatial distribution. So that means that when you have an image from space, for example, you have like a reflection of what is actually on the ground, okay? And you can give it a spatial distribution. So you can say all this, whether it is utilities, whether it is roads, whether it is industries, whether it is centers, vis-a-vis the population, vis-a-vis this other area. You can do you can just have a ready reckoner of the physical distribution of how these resources have been deployed. I mean, that is the beauty of it. So what I just wanted to say is that government makes decisions based on data. Space just adds another layer and adds a spatial component onto it, which helps in making better decisions for government. So it is a valuable tool that can be used to make better decisions. There are opportunities around what is now not exploited, the space economy. And if we're able to invest relevant necessary resources in the space economy, we can actually generate more revenues from the space economy that can contribute to our national economy. There are many things that we think, if with better investments, we'll get actually better returns on investment and contribute to our national economy, and by way of also helping in sorting out the issue of debt. So yes, we launched the KSA Strategic Plan, which was aligned with the National Administration Plan for the period ending up till 2027. And we are focusing on, obviously, supporting the administration plan, so the bottom-up economic. So what kind of support do we provide to housing? What kind of support do we provide to the MSME sector, the digital economy? So those are we've looked at the key interventions that will support each of those sectors in the bottom-up economic development. So we've looked at how do we utilize space technologies and space-derived data to do housing and general physical planning, land and physical planning to support housing. The MSMEs, how do you grow How do you create opportunities in the space economy that will also benefit the MSMEs, the startups that we are talking about? And what opportunities are there that they can leverage around small businesses that utilize data that you get from satellites to make simple solutions to various problems that we are facing. So those are the ideas that are in this in the strategic plan. We hope to be able, because central in all this is the capability to do good processing of data. We have a lot of data that we get from satellites, but the gap has always been, how do you process that data and do analytics around it to have meaningful interpretations that will support all these socioeconomic activities that we're talking about. That requires having in place data processing and analytics capability. We hope to be able to have a functioning Center for Earth Observation that has full processing capabilities. So that you already have you have acquisition from satellites, and not just acquisition from our own satellites, but even satellites from other partners. All this data is integrated, it is processed, it is analyzed, it is ready for use to support this. That is a focus area for the agency. The other area that we hope to see in place, we also want to have in place a Center for CubeSat development, which will support our students in the universities as much as they'll be doing projects and learning on theory. They can now translate that into practice by actually engaging in projects and development of small satellites. That is a second area. The third area is we also want to go into the launch segment as a country. And this is informed by the distinct geographical advantage that the country has in terms of launching satellites. The Italians saw it way back in the 60s. They launched satellites between the 60s and 1988, that was the last time. And it is because our region offers distinct geographical advantages. We want now to establish a spaceport on a commercial basis through a public-private partnership. The idea here is to have a partnership where you have a revenue sharing mechanism, and in so doing, we hope now to be able also to plow back significant resources in terms of revenues from that activity. We are taking advantage, or rather we are doing this because we know that right now there's a huge surge in space activity. If you listen to the news, not a week passes by before you hear a launch happening here, a launch happening there, satellites that are being launched. By and large, the world is realizing that the space economy is going to be a major factor of the global economy. In fact, it is projected that by 2030, the space economy will be $1 trillion. So there is significant growth in that area. And to be able to service the kind of demands that are required, either to replace the satellites that are already up there, because they require to be replaced every 5 to 7 years, or just basically to meet the demands, the growing demands of the global market on space services and technologies, there's going to be an increased activity in launching. So we want to place ourselves, to position ourselves as a country also to be an alternate launching position, especially for players in the Africa region, in the Middle East, in Europe, and also in Asia, who would find this place to be of geographical advantage. So we want to position ourselves there also. So we hope that we'll have the data processing capability, capacity and capability We will have Center for CUBSA development to support our, development of our upstream and also now launch capability by that period. Yeah, those are some of the key. Of course, the others are things that will support that. We want to have a legislation to be in place. We expect that we've done some work in terms of development of the legislation. We hope before the end of the year or by the turn of the year, we present this before the House, so that the agency will now be properly grounded in law, and it will be able also now to develop regulations to support the sector. But what is important for us, I think the other arm that is also important is to have an innovation hub to support our startups, because we feel that the space economy is going to be run by the domestic private space sector. And the start off for that is an innovation hub to facilitate that. Yeah. So those are some of the key interventions. In terms of our coordination role, and for us to be able to get all the stakeholders, working together and also understanding what everybody else is doing, so that you're able to do better coordination, you're able to build synergies around capabilities of different stakeholders. We have working partnerships with various entities in state departments, like State Department for Agriculture, State Department for Urban and Housing. We have an MOU with the Directorate of Remote Sensing and Resource Surveys. We have a lot of what I would say partnership frameworks with many institutions, governmental, and even now partnerships with counties. The idea at the regional and even academia, institutions of learning, because there's a segment that is tuned to utilizing of space in the agriculture sector, in the natural resources. So even with Kenya Forestry Services, we also have a working partnership with them. So that is the idea, to just ensure that there is a framework that facilitates that kind of collaboration. So quite a bit of work that we are doing in terms of collaborations with government agencies and subnational entities. We also have partnerships with regional partners, like space agencies in the region, especially the ones that we think we can leverage on some of their capabilities they have. The ones that come to mind is Egyptian Space Agency, South Africa National Space Agency, Nigeria, Ghana. We are having discussions with other partners that have got some reasonable, space programs in their countries and capabilities that we think we can utilize, including even Ethiopia and Rwanda. So that is what we are doing at the regional level. Of course, we started domestic, but also internationally. It's not just Italy. We have also, as you probably saw even during the conference, there was a huge presence of the Indian space community. The reason being that India has developed its own, domestic space capability and, an industry that is actually derived from its own, context. And we feel that what India is going through, the socio-economic context, we face similar challenges, and we can actually use their model to grow our space economy. Yeah, good question. So in terms of what we've been able to achieve, I would say when I came in terms of the interaction, especially with the stakeholders, I think before we didn't have as much interaction as we are having right now. There's quite a bit in terms of work that we do very closely with stakeholders, those in the public, that is in the MDS, and also private players, those who are doing work around geospatial technologies. There's heightened activity, which I would say I'm proud of. I'm also proud of the fact that we've been able to run two, expos and conference, which are really targeted at getting the ordinary Kenyan to understand what we are doing. We've been able to generate significant interest among our students in the universities, among academia, and right now there is a surge in interest among our students to take up, careers and explore opportunities around space economy. I'm also proud of the fact that we've been able to run a successful outreach, mentorship and outreach to schools, primary schools and secondary schools. And we are running a very vibrant Space Clubs initiative. We develop some content. We take advantage of opportunities where students are converging around science-themed or STEM-themed events, and we go there to send our team to talk about space. And we have seen a great interest. We have students who look out for opportunities. We get requests to send teams to go out there and talk more about space science and astronomy, Earth observation, that kind of thing. So there's a sense of general interest that is growing up. People are beginning to appreciate. And of course, the launch of our satellite, I think, was also an important moment when we launched it last year. I think that speaks to the maturity of our capabilities around development of satellites. And last but not least is the work that we have done in terms of coming up with the first ever legislation around space. I would say that has gone. We have made significant steps. We don't have a legislation yet, but I would say we have done tremendous work with our stakeholders, sought views from not just the local stakeholders, but also across our partners, international also, who have given valuable inputs. And we believe that we have a policy, legal and regulatory framework that is conducive, enabling, even for the growth of a thriving domestic space sector. It is all inclusive. It looks at the global space economy, the trends, the issues around international governance around space. So we've done tremendous work in trying to come up with a policy and legal framework that meets international standards. So I'm proud of the steps that we've taken in those areas. It just speaks to the need to be flexible and to be current, especially with what is happening globally. I mean, space technology is now a thing that is a global movement, and many countries are seeing the need to invest in space exploration and exploitation. So I see the need to be flexible to to be aware of what is the developments around the world, the new technologies. Now I'm now exposed to, new technologies like AI, like machine learning, like, big data analytics. These are probably some things that if I was in the mainstream military, maybe I'd just be learning and, but not really into it per se. But now, so there's quite a bit that a lot of opportunities that it has, I've been, what is the right word? I've been able to come first-hand experience with some technologies and, things that I would probably not have had an opportunity to. But I think more importantly is operating or running an organization that there is no precedence. Okay, coming up with things, setting up systems that with no precedence. Whether it was basically an institution that was still in the formative stages, and so having to learn the new technologies around this space thing, and also at the same time also learning to bring up an organization that was at its formative stage has been a challenge and I think a thrill to me. And I think in the military things are fairly straightforward, very structured, things regimented, so there's a script, this is how things are done in the military, very structured and regimented. Here, it's a completely different ballgame. In the military, you only need to issue instructions, and people will follow without questioning. But here, it's a completely different ballgame. These are not just the ordinary Kenyans, they are Gen Zs and, people who have their own, So having to learn to adjust to, lead a young team, a team that also has got, it's very fast in the way they expect things to run, so trying to do a balancing act on not just issuing instructions, but explaining why we should go this way because of this, things that I would not have to explain when I'm in the military, but now here is trying to get some consensus. So it is also helping me to lead a team of civilians, and especially a young team that is very, I would say they are very ambitious, they are very aggressive, they have a lot of energy, and you need to keep them busy, keep them, active, doing something, and show that there's progress. So I think those are the challenges that I feel I face, but also a very good opportunity because I have a very dynamic team. My office work takes quite a bit of my time because there are a lot of things that are still in the formative stage. There's quite a bit of structures that need to be put in place. But I'm a family man. I try to spend much of my free time with my family. I enjoy traveling when I'm able to. I enjoy reading during my free time, and also listening to gospel music. Yeah, as a way of taking away all these stresses. Yeah. The area that we feel that we are mostly disadvantaged is around, data processing capabilities. we are investing a lot of our resources on building capabilities around that. So when I think we have a reasonable data processing capability, and that means having in place not just the trained personnel, but also the infrastructure. The infrastructure that supports the data processing and also dissemination of that. So having a network that supports all these key stakeholders, ministries, departments, and agencies, a common national spatial data infrastructure. If we have that, where everybody is able to, feed in whatever information that is usable by others. So having that in place, I think would of course be a dream come true. Because right now we still work in silos as different ministries, departments, and agencies. I'm hoping we can have that unified network, a spatial data infrastructure that, and a layer of, processing capabilities that furnishes that spatial data infrastructure with the relevant data, the decision support tools that everybody else can use. That is my dream. Yeah.